beautiful, welcome back to my channel. One of the things in my healing journey and in my healing process was actually realizing that I needed to be healed. I needed to come out of the trauma, of the pain. We all go through different things as children, in our teenage years, our 20s, just things happen, okay? And some things we don't understand why they happen, but the closer you draw to God, the more things are revealed to you and the dots start connecting. Healing for me is what connected the dots and made me realize that I needed more. I needed a foundation. I needed love. There are so many things that you need through your life that you don't get, which causes other things to happen, which causes triggers, traumas, confusion, all the rest of it. I learned that without God and without having a foundation, I was going to be stuck. I was going to remain in my little pool of emotions. There was going to be no growth if I didn't actually start my healing process. So before now, I was broken, I was hurt, I was lonely, I didn't know about myself, I wasn't loving myself. And so these are also the things that I recognized that I was like, okay, I need to start the healing process. I needed change, I needed love, I needed healing. So the first thing I realized about myself in order to change was that my go-to emotion was anger. All the time. Especially when I was in school. Growing up, I didn't know how to express myself. If I got in trouble with my mom, if I was disciplined, there wasn't something afterwards where we had a conversation and she was like, oh, the reason why this has happened is because this, on the next time do this. There wasn't an explanation. How I am with my children, I know if something happens or we have a discussion, I always explain, and I explain now what we do next, how I'm approaching the situation, if they have anything to say to me. We build a relationship together so that everybody understands how we can grow from the situation. But with me growing up, I didn't have that. I had to go to school with those incorrect life lessons, and it portrayed negatively in school. My schoolwork was fine. It was just me dealing with situations. Things went on in school as they do. My go-to emotion was anger, and everybody's getting shut down. I wasn't able to separate from what one person did to what the whole world would have done to me. I'm angry at everybody, I'm not speaking to you. And it also turned into physical fights as well, because I had so much anger, I had so much emotion built up as a young child. So growing up as well, when I'm in my 20s and stuff, I'm dealing with things, I realized as well, it was anger. It may have been physical, but it was very words, actions, I had an attitude, I didn't know how to communicate myself properly, so I ended up crying and all these things. When I got into my late 20s and my 30s, I realized hang on, why do I always hit the anger button? I miss out all the other things and I'm just straight upset and angry. And so when I realized that was always my emotion, that was always my go-to, I knew I needed to change. Another way I realized that I needed healing was that I referenced my trauma and connected it to everything. Meaning that if I started talking about butterflies, I'm gonna end up talking about my mum. If I started talking about what I ate last week, it's gonna end up with my mum. My mum was the traumatic situation in my life, growing up with her. And because I was so deep in the pain, I didn't know how to explain, I didn't know how to deal with it. I wasn't going to therapy, I didn't have any sort of outlet. All I knew was just to talk about the pain. That was sort of my way of dealing with it, I guess, was to constantly talk about it. But I'm sure people were just this lady's talking about talk about it again. And I realized I need healing, because I don't want to keep talking about trauma. I don't want to keep referencing everything good going on in my life back to trauma. I don't want to keep referring and connecting back to that person or that pain that happened before. So that's when I had to sit and realize if I don't sort out my pain, if I don't sort out my healing, if I don't start this journey, I'm going to constantly be in a place of pain, always remembering what happened, always sticking on and holding on to the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, to the issues, to the pain, to the lack and all that stuff, rather than focus on the good things that are going to happen, the positives in my life, how I want to change, how I want to grow, how I want to be an example, what God can do for me. I'm not going to receive love from here, but I'm going to receive love from the abundance. If I didn't start doing that and working on my journey, I probably would still be, I wouldn't be here right now even talking to you. So it takes a while, it takes realization. It also takes that intention as well. Do you want to change? Do you still want to be talking about your pain and your trauma? Because it creates a basis of your life. If you always reference something, for me, I always reference scripture, I always reference God, love, the good things in my life. That becomes me. I then grow and I'm flourished and I'm rooted in something that's greater. If I'm constantly talking about my pain, or when I was talking about my pain and my mum and this happened and that happened, I was rooted in anger, I was rooted in upset, I was rooted in negativity, I was rooted in hurt and stuff like that. And you start becoming whatever you're rooted in, right? So that's when I realized, like, I need to change, and I need to then talk about, I should be able to talk about the situation without the deep pain. I should be able to talk about situation and learn from it and help somebody else. Another way that I realized that I needed healing was that my mental health was shocked. Okay, I went through a lot from a young age up until late 20s. I went through a lot, not only dealing with my mom, but just dealing with other things as well, relationships, people, situation, homelessness, all those other things, right? My whole body was screaming at me and telling me I need help, but I didn't realize. My hair was falling out, and I used to work at hairdressers, and I used to get my hair done at the hairdressers too, and my manager would be like, what happened to the hair? You just got your hair done last week, and in the space of a week, I could have 2 bald patches on the side of my head. And when I went to the doctor, they were like, it's stress alopecia. Another thing that used to happen was I used to get a lot of heart palpitation. My heart couldn't handle the amount of pain, loneliness that I was going through, traumatic situations. I also was in a bad relationship, plus dealing with my mum, plus homeless. It was just like, my heart was like, what's going on here? I used to have such deep pain in my heart that it would just throw me back. I used to have I was on a heart monitor as well for like 24 hours check, and they were like, yeah, you just got like, excessive heart, blah, blah. Like, it was just a lot. It was a lot. My body was screaming at me. My mental health, my mind, I was overthinking so much. And as I've come to know Christ more, I realized, like, overthinking is from the enemy. It's a distraction away from the amazing things that your mind can actually think about, the amazing things that you can do. I was overthinking like crazy, always worried, crying, lonely, emotional. I couldn't think straight. I wasn't journaling back then. Everything was just here, and your body would tell you that it's stress. Listen to your body. So one of the good things that I do now, good habits that I have now, is definitely taking care of the inside of me and the outside of me. I want good habits so that my body feels good. I'm taking my vitamins, I'm drinking my water, I'm eating better, working out, listening to my body, listening to my mind, watching what I'm doing, to be able to have peace. Because when you are overstressed, and especially when you need healing, you have all the trauma in your body, it shows, and it does affect you. And there's a book called something like Your Body Doesn't Forget Trauma or something. I haven't read it yet, but a book like that. For me, praying and focusing on what God says about me help release some of the stress. Talking about it with someone help release the stress. Writing things down, if you had a therapist, if you went swimming, whatever it is that you need to do in order to find that peace, do it, because it helps. Because when you're sitting at home lonely and you're crying about the matter, it doesn't always help. It kind of just stays static in you. Once you find a good outlet, then that helps. So the more that I focused on scriptures about God's love for me, is the more that my stress started to reduce. And I realized also that the situation wasn't my fault, because growing up I kept thinking that it was me that did the wrong thing, and it's my fault, and it's because I did this, it caused this. When you start realizing and you start forgiving yourself out of a place of hostage, you start forgiving the people involved, you start letting things go, to breathe. You can breathe and relax, and the healing process becomes a little bit more easier as you go on. And also with your mindset as well, it's good to have good affirmations, to tell yourself that you can, and to tell yourself that you're capable and you're worthy. Everything around you is there to benefit you in a positive way. Use everything around you. And lastly, one of the big reasons of starting my healing journey was like, I had enough of the pain. It's enough. I did a good stretch, guys. It's enough. I don't want to be in pain anymore. I don't want to deal with the trauma anymore. I don't want it to filter down to my children and my grandchildren. I don't want it to stop my purpose. I don't want it to mess up my relationship, my marriage. I had enough of the pain. I don't want to let other people's situations, negativity, insecurities, whatever they're dealing with, coming to me and I'm affected. I had enough of the pain. So one day I said to myself, well, let's make it 2 days. Because when I was 18, I made a decision to stop being shy and timid. And I was very naive then, so a lot of things happened. But I made a decision then to sort of be a bit more confident and speak up for myself and things like that, which it did help. But I was still in it, so I could only do so much. And then the second time I decided was when I turned 30, and I was like, that's it. Okay, I already had a child then, I was married, and I was like, I can see how this trauma and pain, if I don't sort it out, will destroy me and destroy my marriage. And it's funny because when you get married, things start to, that you didn't realize, show up in you. And I was like, oh no. I want to heal myself. I've had enough of the pain. I need room for happiness. And it's really important to learn to break off these generational curses, these family curses, things from your lineage. So what I did also was make a whole list of everything I could think about my family, which was negative or which was repetitive, like the cycles, and see if anything was in my life or anything I was doing or whatever, and then start to eradicate it and start to work on that. So that was also part of the healing process too. It was like, I'm gonna stop this before it gets to the point of how my family are, or I'm gonna like nip this in the bud because I definitely don't want to portray this type of thing towards my family. So it's just realizing and making that decision for you to say, I want to change. I'm ready to start my healing process. I'm ready to begin to love myself more. I'm ready to begin to start my relationship with Christ, if that's where you're going. I'm ready to move forward in a positive way. I'm ready to forgive. All these things that you're ready to do. If you feel like these things that I've mentioned are something that you are thinking about, then try and start your healing process. The first thing I would say to do is just speak out. Just say, I am done with so-and-so. I would not let this trauma, this pain take hold of me or control me. I am worthy of so much love, and I am capable of starting a whole new life, being healed, inspired, positive, and carefree and loved. Okay, you are loved. That's one thing that I struggled with, is I didn't realize that I was loved and I was being loved. And because of the trauma and the pain, it was blocking that love. I wasn't receiving any of that because I didn't know how to. So I've been working on all of that, and I'm here now to spread this love to you and help you guys understand that today, make a decision to step out of the trauma and pain and start your healing process. Your past can only hold you down if you let it. Keep praying for God's peace over your situation, and I pray that your situation begins to change. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.